This classic British car packs a punch and is fun to drive. The Austin Healey 106 right here, right now, check it out! Greetings petrolheads and welcome to romrom.net, the channel sharing the joy of sim racing and to its mod world where we test new and old mods that could add to your enjoyment. Today it's classic day as we are driving a mod for the Austin Healey 106 BN6 from 1959. A classic British car from a time where the British were building cars with character and had not been bought out by either Indian or Chinese companies. The 100S series from Austin Healey were cars made specially for racing, S stands for Sebring, but soon many of the buyers were driving it around on normal streets. We will have a look at it and see how well it does in racing and how well it does in cruising around. Before we get to that, if you want to know more about what mods are out there for your enjoyment and become part of the RomRom family, subscribe right now and click on the bell. You won't regret it. Look at that massive wheel. And I like that it looks used. In case you're wondering, of course I took this livery because the red is gonna make me go faster. It's a scientific fact. If you have the right livery, you are going faster. The tires, the spokes. Nice. I gotta take care not to trip over my rig. Is there a motor in the motor? No, there is no motor in the motor. What a pity. Oh, now that I see it on the others, I had not realized that the tires are so thin. Nice. I like this sound. Reminds me of the Jaguar XK 120. I like how this car sounds when I go on the throttle, when I go off the throttle, when I change gears. I think I like the sound design here. You'll have to drive this car very carefully as it loves to oversteer, and because the suspension is so soft, you go from left to right, from right to left every time that you touch the wheel. And when you downshift, you will also get downshift oversteer, I think it's called. That's oversteer because the motor brakes very strongly. On the other hand, when you push this car to the limit, the behavior is exactly the same. So you will already be accustomed to that behavior, and when you're driving it at the limit, you will know how it reacts and how you should react to it. It's gonna be interesting to drive this car in a race as it has a tendency to oversteer and I have a tendency to overdrive it. Apart from the suspension, another reason for the nervous behavior of this car is of course that the tires are so thin. On the other hand, the most important reason why I can mostly get out of these issues with oversteer is that the force feedback is good enough for me to feel how this car is acting and reacting to my input. The force feedback is not perfect, mostly it makes the wheel hard to move, but that helps already, and it's finer than other force feedbacks that I've encountered in this last year. When you're in a race against the AI, check the mirror, check the other cars, because you will see this exaggerated tendency of weight transfer in the other cars stronger than you feel it in your own. Even if this car was made for racing, based on today's standards it's easier to cruise around with it than to race it. You'll recognize this fact in the difficulties that the AI has deciding itself how to drive this car. As was to be expected, it's difficult to race this car on the limit, fast and without too much oversteer, so be prepared to work a lot. And it's a convertible! I love convertibles. In fact, my actual car that I'm driving right now is a convertible. If I remember correctly, this car has a 6-port intake manifold made of aluminium. It has larger valves, it has higher compression, and that's why it packs such a punch when you go on the throttle. The price in 1959 for this car was 817 British pounds, which corrected for inflation means about 18,850 British pounds of today. Now you can find this car at auctions, and if it's at good quality you'll pay around 45,000 to 46,000 pounds. Before this car was made, Austin Healey was offering a 2+2 seat car, and that was something that somehow the customers did not expect and did not like from Austin Healey, so the BN6, which I am driving, was made again into a coupe with only 2 seats and sold quite well. For such a wonderful car, there's not much information to be found anywhere, but it's no wonder this car was only built for 3 years between 1956 and 1959. It has no downforce, it oversteers like crazy, but it still is a lot of fun to drive around and to race it. The mod looks very good, you feel very much inside of this car, and from the outside it's from the time that cars had character. For the look, I'm giving it 5 eyes out of 5. The sound, you've heard it. It roars. It's exactly how these cars did sound and how these cars should sound. Therefore, for the sound, I give it 5 ears out of 5. The driving feeling is not quite there. It's fun to drive, make no mistake. Force feedback is quite good, but still not 100%. I would give it something like 4.75 wheels, but I'm gonna settle for 4 because it's not perfect, and I should only give 5 wheels to cars that drive perfectly. That said, it's a lot of fun to drive, and I can imagine if you sat together with friends that know how to deal with this car or that have had a little bit of practice with it, like 1 or 2 days of practice, it's gonna be a very good race, especially if you take it seriously but not too seriously, because this car is not easy to drive on the limit. No, correction, this car is not easy to drive, and it's not easy to drive on the limit. If you think this car is something for you, look in the description of this video, where as always we have a link to the mod, and we have of course tons of videos with classic and modern and even fantasy cars sharing the joy of sim racing. Check them out. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, applaud by giving it a thumbs up and share it around. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell to become part of the RomRom family and to be informed about new videos. And if you already did, thank you very much for that. Until the next time, save fuel, collect pickup, and we'll see each other at the podium.
Visit romrom.net to connect to fellow sim racers and sim racing fans.